never in a million years would I thought I'd be an NBA player. Never in a billion years would I think I'd be a part of the Jordan brand. So.
And then sooner or later, the whole truth will come out. But until then, we will continue to let people talk.
NBA fans are eager to see players that come from a background like a Jimmy Butler, because today the narrative is that NBA players today, they don't come from the struggle. And the reason they don't come from the struggle is because so many pro players are producing children, and these children are getting into the NBA, and these pro children are so entitled in the money that's in NIL. They don't want to work hard. They don't have no grit. They don't play any defense. And so you're lessening the product by having all these players who don't come from the struggle in the NBA. Now, do I believe that? Not necessarily. Is there some truth to that? Yes, but it's not the fullness of the truth. But Jimmy Butler is a guy who comes from that background. Mother kicked him out the house. He was homeless.
What happened when you were in Tumble, Texas, around 13 years old?
My mom kicked me out of my house, to tell the truth, and I bounced in and out of guys' houses in high school. And like I said, my senior year, I found a stable home that just kept me, not because they thought I would be anything in basketball or because I'd be here interviewing on ESPN, but just because they're good people and they do good things, and they felt it was the right thing to do. And without them, I definitely wouldn't be in this position.
He went to Marquette. He shined. He was the 30th pick in the first round. Now think about that. Jimmy Butler never could imagine making it to the NBA.
But I just started working on my game. I never worked on my game as much whenever I was in college, in junior college or in high school, because I was like, man, I ain't finna be a pro. Like, I'm from Tomball. I'm a McDonald's All-American. I had to go to JUCO. Like, I doubted myself. That's why it's funny whenever you hear people say, oh, I knew Jimmy was going to be that. Stop lying. Like, I didn't even know that I would be here today. You know what I mean? Like,
and Jimmy Butler makes it to the NBA, and now he's an NBA superstar. And someone can argue in the comments and say, hey, no, he's not a superstar. He's just the best that the franchise has to offer. Or he had superstar moments. Now, we all know that Jimmy Butler, of course, had those superstar moments, but at a certain point in his career, Jimmy Butler looked like a superstar, especially in the playoffs. But that's the good side of Jimmy. But every 3 to 5 years, we see Jimmy Butler saga. We see it every 3 to 5 years. Now we have this whole debacle in Miami. And let's just go back to Chicago. Chicago is where it all started. Jimmy Butler gets drafted at the 30th pick in the first round, and money has to do with a lot of this Miami Heat situation, and money has to do a lot with Jimmy Butler's journey. So his first 4 years in the NBA, Jimmy Butler only amassed $5.2 million. And I know I'm saying only $5.2 million, like that's some chump change. Of course, to them it is, but to the average American worker, that's a lot. $5.2 million. So Jimmy Butler, I think you did good for yourself, even the first 4 years of your career. But when Jimmy Butler really started to take off was during the 2013-2014 season. He started to play excellent. His contract was up and they offered him $40 million. Not a lot of money in the NBA world. Let me say that, okay? I'm not talking about the everyday American, the everyday person. No, but in the NBA world, for a guy like Jimmy Butler, he thought that's too low. And there's no concrete evidence of the Chicago Bulls trying to sabotage Jimmy Butler during that time, saying that, hey, if you don't take this $40 million, we will cut your minutes. And by cutting your minutes, it cuts your production. If you're not productive, you won't get a big contract. So, hey, we have control. We have the power. Now, I don't know if that story is true, but if it is true, that's just an example of the higher ups in these organizations usurping their authority over things that they should not have control over. So they have no control over the live games. And if you take your authority and you push it down to the coaching staff and say, hey, don't play Jimmy, that's just absolutely wrong. So if that really happened, I don't know. I hope not. But Jimmy Butler, 2014-2015 season, where he really took off. And let's just enjoy some of those moments. Jimmy Butler absolutely played out of his mind. He won Most Improved. And after this, Jimmy Butler, of course, he betted on himself the year prior, and he takes home a contract of $95 million. So Jimmy Butler is a guy who's from homeless, mother kicked him out, 30th pick in the first round, to making and signing a $95 million contract. And after Jimmy Butler signed his $95 million contract, I think things started to change a little bit. And of course, money does change you. Money gives you swagger.
On Bulls TV,
Oh my gosh. First off, don't know. Why is my hair so low
Bulls
in this
draft pick
photo?
Jimmy Butler, a young man out of Marquette.
My shirt's too
Jimmy,
big.
here you are at the Birdos Center. Big smile on your face.
Money gives you some type of confidence that you need, especially in the NBA. And this is where Jimmy Butler started to change to me. He started to address the coaching staff and some of his players in a different light. And Jimmy Butler started to get more arrogant. And arrogance in some sense can be good, but if you are using it to the detriment of those around you, it can be bad. Now, I'm not saying he was a detriment to the Chicago Bulls. It just didn't work out. And as Rondo said on JJ Redick's podcast,
yeah. Why wasn't that team a little bit better?
The chemistry, it wasn't there.
Really?
Like I mentioned earlier, Jimmy and D-Wade, they kind of were, on their own as far as, I guess, even in practice, even off the court, which, like, again, every team is differently and there's nothing wrong with that. But there wasn't really a connect, between the old guys and the young. And that was why it was so much friction throughout the year.
It was chemistry that made this thing not work out, even though I still think they would have beat the Boston Celtics if Rondo wasn't hurt. I mean, Rondo, you guys could have made it somewhat history if you didn't get hurt. But Jimmy Butler, doing that Chicago tenure, pulls himself up by his bootstraps, I guess, whatever. He makes it, $95 million contract. Things start to change, more swagger. And of course, I don't expect Jimmy Butler to be the same Jimmy Butler that was making $1 million a year. I expect a change. I expect him to hold his teammates accountable. I expect him to hold his coaching staff accountable. And that's what Jimmy Butler did. Now, Jimmy Butler leaves. There's no point in me giving the Timberwolves story. Mr. Teague, may you handle that for me, my guy, please. Thank you.
Where Jimmy kind of called out everybody. Mm-hmm. You just kind of mentioned it in the sense that he took guys and beat everybody.
Yeah.
Was there always tension? Like that day is infamous and everybody knows about that day. Mm. But like the guys in the locker room are still the same guys. Was there always that type of tension amongst that group? Because, I mean, let's just face it, some guys are a little softer than others.
No, it wasn't that. Like, it really was based off of Jimmy wanted to be paid. That's where it came from. Like, it wasn't about Cat. It wasn't about Wig. It wasn't about me, Taj. D-Rose, none of that. It was about him getting paid. And when he came here, Tibbs told him, like, yo, we're going to take care of you. So he was like, I'll never forget, Jimmy called me and was like, yo, come to Minnesota. And I'm like, all right. He got Taj to come. All right, we come to Minnesota. Jamal to come. We all coming. He's like, we going to win, bro. He was like, we going to be a top 5 seed in the West. We going to win. We going to shock the world. People don't believe me. He was like, I'm that good. I was like, Jimmy, I'm good too. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, nah, I'm that good, bro. I'm going to change this whole thing around. And then we forgot about Cat and Wiggs. Like, we weren't even thinking about them until we got to practice. And I seen Cat, and I'm like, hey, he the best player on the team. And Jimmy like, he the best one. Then I'm like, Wig dynamic too. He was like, Cat gonna average 25, Wig gonna average 20-something. I'm gonna average like 18. He was like, you gonna get your 14, Ty's gonna get his 12, 13, whatever. He was like, but they gonna be the main focal point. I'm gonna do all the little things. I'm like, cool. First 2 games of the season, we wasn't looking that good. Jimmy come in the locker room, he was like, fuck this Teague. I gotta be me. I gotta take over this whole thing. He started killing. We go on this run. We start winning games. And he just started like, they ain't the ones. Like, they don't got it. And I'm like, damn, Jimmy, they got it. Like, he's like, they ain't got it. They don't believe like we believe. They used to losing. I don't know how to lose. I ain't used to losing. They used to losing. And he just started being him. And the whole thing changed. We started believing in him. But, you know, when somebody got that kind of willpower, some guys can't handle that. Like, I'm all in because it wasn't bothering me. I'm like, shit, all right, dude, you the star.
Facts.
I will follow you. You the star. But Cat was still young. You know, Wig, you play with Wig ain't tripping.
At all.
He
Not
like,
one bit.
He looking at me like, I like Jimmy. So Jimmy heard that and was like, I'm rocking with Wig too. But Cat liked Jimmy, but the way he used to talk to people, Cat just really couldn't handle it. Jimmy get hurt. We went from 3 to the 8th seed, like fighting to get in the playoffs. Jimmy realized that. Jimmy came back for like 3 games. We get in the playoffs. But when we lose in the first round, whatever, Jimmy was still hurt. That summer, Jimmy like, y'all see when I'm out, what the team look like. When I'm in, what we look like. Take care of me. I want to get paid right now. But it was Cat's turn to get the extension. We like, it's just Cat's turn, bro. Your turn next. He like, nah, my turn now. Like Tibbs calling me like, can you just tell Jimmy we're going to play him next year? Jimmy said, no, now, or trade me. Shit, Tibbs like, I can't do it. I was like,
you go to Minnesota, they haven't been to the playoffs in years. You get them to the playoffs. That's impressive. And the whole thing just fell crashing down after that. How I want to put it. Let me just say, after the nonsense that went on, and I don't blame Jimmy Butler for that. And now you fast forward to Philadelphia. These guys just dropped the ball. You pick Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler.
Me? Tobias Harris over me?
Another thing, Jimmy Butler feeling like he's just not accepted. We see it in Chicago. If that $40 million story is true, it's like, hey, you looking at me less than. We see in Minnesota, these guys didn't want to follow Jimmy Butler's lead. You can look at that, hey, looking at me less than. In Philadelphia, even though I'm a better player, just a fact. This is not subjective. This is objective. I'm objectively better than Tobias Harris, yet you pick him over me. You look at me less than. Jimmy Butler goes to Miami. He takes this team to the NBA Finals twice. He loses to Joker. He loses to LeBron. No shame in that. You can lose to those 2 guys right there, and I have no problem at all. He does that, and then we have last year.
No crazy attire this year. We were expecting maybe something.
Man, look, I don't know what I had planned, but all my plans went to complete and utter not my way because what has transpired. But I'm here, normal hair, no shenanigans. That's all I got.
And before I start on next season, I didn't even mention when Jimmy Butler signed with Miami, he signed to a 4-year, $142 million contract. This is a guy who was the 30th pick. I continue want to emphasize that, and made $4 or $5 million his first 4 years, then went up to 95, and now he's at 42 million. Not too bad for a 30th pick. But during the 2023-2024 season, Jimmy Butler is hurt yet again. So Jimmy Butler always deals with these nagging injuries here and there. But if you can get him healthy in the playoff run, you have a shot. And so Jimmy Butler, I guess at this time he was not in his right mind, or maybe he was, and he said a couple of words.
Boston would be at home. New York sure would be home. Josh Hart. Josh Hart. Yo. Stop. Come on, man. Nah. I love Tibbs, but I don't want to. I love Tibbs. I love you, baby. I want to beat you to a pulp.
Now, him saying that, hey, if I was on the court, I think we would have won. We would have beat the Boston Celtics. We would have beat the New York Knicks. That's not a problem. I don't see a problem with him saying that. Of course, a guy who's making $142 million, he should. It's a must that he feels like, hey, if I'm on the team, we should win. And if you are paying someone $142 million and they don't feel like they are extremely intricate to you winning, it's a problem. It's a real problem. And Jimmy Butler is a competitor. So Pat Riley says, shut up.
For him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling? Or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut. And your criticism of those teams.
Shut up, Jimmy. Don't talk outside the court. Talk on the court. It's like the quote said that, hey, one who puts on his armor should not boast like one who takes it off. And I guess that's what Pat Riley thought Jimmy Butler was doing when he said, hey, if I was playing, we would have beat the Knicks, we would have beat the Celtics. But Pat Riley like, nah, dude, you are not on the court. If you're on the court, then you can talk because you're producing. But if you're not producing anything, just shut up, sit back, and support the Miami Heat. And still to this day, it's reports that Jimmy still has issues with Pat Riley calling him out. Now, could Pat Riley have done a better job? In my opinion, yes. You could have called Jimmy Butler. You probably have Jimmy Butler on speed dial. You're paying him all that money. I know you can get in contact with him quick, but you went to the media and just told him, shut up. Trying to shame him. You see the pattern? Chicago, if that $40 million story is true, I don't know if it's true now, but if it's true, Jimmy Butler feels like, hey, you guys look at me less than. You guys are trying to shame me right now. We see it in Minnesota. They tried to shame Jimmy as a bad player just because he tried to push or a bad or someone who's detrimental to the team when Jimmy Butler just tried to push Andrew Wiggins and Cat to be greater. And then you get to Philly and you pick Tobias Harris over me. All these three stops, the teams have looked at me as less than. And so Jimmy Butler, when Pat Riley made that comment, I'm assuming that Jimmy Butler took it like, hey, I'm better than that. This guy is he's looking at me as like I don't really have value. Like instead of standing behind me and say, yes, Jimmy Butler, if he was here, we would have won. You're looking at me as less of a player. I can't even say these comments confidently on the internet, on camera, saying that, hey, if I was on the team, I would have been able to get this team over the hump and beat Chicago and beat New York. So now you're looking at me as less than. We saw it in Chicago. If that story is true, I'm going to continue to preface that. We saw it in Minnesota for sure. And we for sure saw it in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia is still paying that debt to this moment. You got Paul George, thought you guys were going to do something this season. It's been cutthroat for you all. So you made a bad decision by not signing Jimmy Butler. But that's neither here nor there. And now Jimmy feeling the same in Miami. But it really comes down to Jimmy Butler. He wants a contract extension for $112 million. That's what Jimmy Butler wants. And it's extremely hard with the collective bargain agreement. And Jimmy Butler will be 36 next year to give him this type of extension. He's an aging superstar. Can he be healthy? Am I going to get him every single night? And Pat Riley is a guy who has done this again and again and again. And I can ask the question, should we hold Pat Riley accountable for this? We saw Pat Riley do this Countless of times. We saw Pat Riley do it with Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, Dwayne Wade, Shaq, Sean Marion, LeBron James. These superstars left. Or he just didn't do good by them or didn't want to pay the aging superstar. We saw it with Dwayne Wade, a guy who was faithful to this organization, the Miami Heat. And yet Pat Riley said, hey, D-Wade, you can walk. So him letting Jimmy walk, I'm not surprised. Do I get it, Pat Riley? Absolutely. He's an aging superstar. You don't trust his health. Now you can put the ball more in Harrell's hand, and maybe he's your franchise guy, or just start to rebuild. But do I see any superstar coming to the Miami Heat? No. The best chance they have is trading for Bradley Beal, but Bradley Beal has to waive his no trade clause. And can that happen? So do we hold Pat Riley accountable? Is this his fault or Jimmy's fault? I don't really know. Jimmy wants one thing, Pat wants another. Jimmy wants that money at $113 or $112 million for 2 years. And Pat Riley is like, no, you're not healthy enough. You're an old and aging player. I cannot give up that much money. So I get it, Pat, and I get it, Jimmy, as a guy who's always been, envisioned as quote unquote less than or not this superstar, or a guy who thinks too highly of himself when you're really not that guy. Now, I don't think Jimmy Butler is on the level of a Kevin Durant or Stephen Curry or LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard, but Jimmy Butler, for him to feel this way, I have no problem at all. And for Pat Riley to say, hey, you can walk, I don't have a problem with that either, because he still has a business to run. At the end of the day, these are businesses, and these businesses, they want to have revenue, and they don't want to pay on a declining asset. And Pat Riley views Jimmy Butler as such. So, man, this Jimmy Butler saga, I hope we don't see another Jimmy Butler saga again. But hey, this dude came from nothing to where he's at now. Hopefully he can land where he needs to land. If he goes to Phoenix, maybe I can see this working out with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, because of course they need some toughness and they need a wing defender. But Jimmy Butler, he's a guy. At times he taps out of games. He just clocks out. He walks around the court. He doesn't give the same effort that he gives. He doesn't give the same effort every single night, sometimes, based on the relationships around him. That's just from the outside looking in. You guys let me know. Who do we blame? Jimmy Butler or Pat Riley? Or no one gets to blame? Hey, Jimmy Butler wants to leave? Leave. Pat Riley doesn't want to pay him? Don't pay him. And just leave it at that. You guys let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, guys. Peace.